Good afternoon, Wrestling Inc. Get up, get going. Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome back to the Wrestling Inc. Daily. It's me, your managing editor of WrestlingInc.com, Nick Hausman, joined here as I am every Friday to get it going, to close the week down in a great way. It's our very good friend, the only TK in the business that matters, TK Trinidad. TK, welcome back to the Wrestling Inc. Daily.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm in a great mood. It's Friday, right? The weekend is upon us. Monday, the anxiety is going to set in that I have to go away for 5 straight days and run like madness and try to eat and do coverage and all that. It hasn't quite set in yet. Right now, I still am rosy about having a little time off this weekend.
Are you like packed or are you
packed? What? No, I will pack on Tuesday night. I will double check everything Wednesday, but no, I don't even want to think. I can't. I have a schedule of events that is still in flux because things are still happening.
Yeah.
But I'm mentally, I don't know if I'm all there. I don't know,
I mean, my boyfriend said this to me because I have some big events coming up as well. Stay present and in the moment because one day, you might not be traveling to WrestleMania, not in the capacity that you are, like, you know what I'm saying? So enjoy. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but I'm just passing along the information.
Treasure those moments for sure. I try not to get lost in the fog anymore, like it is. It's so important to treasure those moments. And today we're going to be talking about some very powerful moments. We had a really powerful moment today with Triple H. We'll talk about that in the news block later on. We're going to continue on with our top 7 Wrestling Inc. WrestleMania matches. We have number 6 that we're going to talk about in the retro segment here today. I'll save that for later. I won't announce it. Tease. And then in the mailbag, we're going to talk more about Triple H because that's going to bring us into the news you can use. News will leave a bruise. By the way, the comment section is open. Chime in, of course. But yes, Triple H did an interview with ESPN on First Take with Stephen A. Smith earlier today. They aired a part of it. The full interview is going to be up on ESPN Plus tonight, which we're working to get coverage on. Shockingly, nobody at the site has ESPN Plus. Nobody watches legitimate sports that works at Wrestling Inc. We're working on it. But anyway, he noted that he had very serious heart surgery, of course. He now has a defibrillator in his chest. That's how he described it. I don't know if he was trying to say pacemaker or if there's a difference. I don't know. But he said, I've got this defibrillator in my chest. I don't want to be zapped on national television. Nobody wants to see that. Very emotional. I mean, it hit me like a ton of bricks watching Triple H have to make this announcement. What was your takeaway from this one?
I mean, it's never fun to, if he didn't go through what he's went through, he probably had another 10, 15 years of, pop-ups like he's been doing. And, and he's, I mean, I don't think we've seen him since the operation, but,
really.
Right. So like before that, he was Triple H. Like, imagine you're working out, you're putting the work in your body's doing all this stuff for you. And then, that's all taken away. That's not like, no matter what anybody says, we all create our own individual identities. Like say one day you're no longer doing Wrestling Inc. Right. So then, you know what I'm saying? So that identity is essentially ripped. Like you didn't have the time to say goodbye. Like it's very emotional, especially on that level. And it's going to take a while. Anybody that I know who's been in professional sports, who's used their body as a living, and especially with wrestling, because, you add to that, would you want to be part of it anymore? When I couldn't do track, I haven't watched track like seriously in 10 years. Like I still can't sit down and watch it because it was ripped away from me as well on a smaller level. But yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, no, 100% agreed. It's very difficult to step away like this and to have to say it, right? And you can see it on his face. It's like a hard thing for him to say. And like Hunter's, career at this point had really evolved kind of beyond in-ring stuff. Like I don't think anybody was really expecting him to have another big run or a title or anything. I think maybe there was maybe an optimistic hope for 1 or 2 more big matches, but this didn't come as a huge surprise, I don't think, to most. But you're right. But you're right about the way that he's become attached to it, right? And like, it's hard when you accept that you're losing that portion of it. Granted, he still had that mental attachment to it. He was gaining, he's giving his knowledge. He's helping to shape that next generation, but he's been noticeably absent from down there. A new regime has taken over. Honestly, all of his friends down there work at AEW now. I don't know if, going down there and just being a part of a board of a team that's doing not quite your passion, we're going to find out more in the full interview exactly, hopefully what his future entails. But I could see him maybe not wanting to be as involved as he has been in the past. To what degree, I don't really know,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's always then to be down there and be reminded that you can't even like dip your pinky toe into it. That's, I think I would just have to take a break. I would have to be like, okay, I'll be back in a couple of years, like to really kind of flush it all out, but to like be a part of, like it has wrestling in the title. Like it's just, it's not even like you can stop doing something and, you could be removed. Like
Right.
his wife's in it. Like there's just so many nuances to it. Like his whole family, like forget his wife, his whole, like, other side of his family, and I'm sure his kids are like, there's just so many things, and just more on the emotional side of it, is definitely gonna be difficult.
And so the other part of this coin for me, is the timing of it. It's a very interesting time for him to decide to do this interview, to get this knowledge out there. I wonder a bit about on the decision-making process that decided the Friday before WrestleMania was the best time for Hunter to make this announcement. If I had to make a theory of the case as to why this announcement was made now, I would posit that it maybe has something to do with Cody. You're going into a program here with Seth Rollins. It looks like at WrestleMania, a lot of people, fan-wise, who don't know the whole scope of what's really going on with Hunter, maybe holding out hope that big throne smash that Cody did in AEW could result in something kind of spilling over into WWE. And maybe before Cody touches the ground in WWE, they did not want anybody to be having any kind of expectations that you're going to be getting any kind of Cody Hunter confrontation, or maybe even Hunter getting involved in this Seth Rollins Cody situation, because it's not like Hunter doesn't have history with both of these guys. That would be pretty easy to roll into a bout if it does come to what we all think it's going to be.
Right.
So,
I mean, yeah, but there's also things that I think we as wrestling fans, we also call for. I mean, that's huge. That is a huge thing. But we call for a lot of things. We want a lot of things to happen, and WWE doesn't really sometimes doesn't pay attention.
Sure.
But yeah, given the fact that it is before WrestleMania, I mean, there is that adage where good or bad, the news is good. Like you're still talking about WWE. And so, this is something that we're going to talk about. It's, it's on ESPN, so that's mainstream. And then it's going to lead into and then with the algorithms, you follow one story, then other stories are going to pop up. So if it's looking for the long range thing, I mean, that could be it as well. I don't know necessarily people are thinking that far, but a lead up to WrestleMania, even though it's not even not the best. It's not good news, but it still is something.
Right. Yeah. It does get everybody talking about WWE.
Right.
I think that's fair. I'm not trying to be callous because it's obviously very big. I'm interested. Why now? That's just a question I have for myself. Like, why would he decide that this is the moment? Why on the eve of WrestleMania they decided to put this out? Just a little curious on that. On just a personal note. I mean, it's sad. It's the end of an era. A lot of people sharing their thoughts out on Twitter right now, and we're going to talk more about Triple H's career here later on in the mailbag. But just kind of curious. That's all.
Yeah.
Right? Why now?
Yeah, because you always hold up hope, especially when you see legends come back, or you see, and it doesn't necessarily have to be, WWE. We could talk about X-Pac. Like he made a run a couple of weeks ago. So when you see legends kind of popping up, doing one or two here and there, you're like, okay, well, he's not 80, so that means there's still going to be some time. So when you cut that, it's just kind of like, oh, this is it.
that was definitely something I thought about, was like, man, this guy's best friend just passed away like a week ago. And now they're like, we need you to sit down in this chair, look in the camera, and tell them you're done wrestling. Like, that's a lot. That's very, very heavy. And I did think about Shawn, and like, man, it's wild, right? Like, Hunter's done. Shawn Michaels is like done. Scott is obviously no longer with us. Nash could, Nash can throw a boot, I guess, if he wanted.
Yeah, very, very sparingly, like every 10 years.
But Shawn's the last of that clique. Shawn's the last man standing right now, and that's a weird hat to wear for anybody.
Right. It is, but on the flip side, he's doing so well. I mean, we don't want to go into a Shawn tangent or love fest, but he's doing so well. So yeah.
We also have Leo over here, Yoragura, on Facebook. Cody could beat Seth. Triple H shows up, puts his thumb down. Seth beats the hell out of Cody. Seth and Hunter celebrate at the end. And, I don't know if it happens at Mania, and I don't know if we ever see him again on WWE TV, right? I mean, definitely not going to wrestle, but there's still stories you can tell with Hunter and Cody if you wanted to, without having to get Hunter in the ring, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think, well, we don't know the inner workings of the family dynamic, but it seems like he's a company man. They'll respect him to a certain extent, but if they're like, oh, this would be a good storyline, we just need you to be in the ring, he might do it for the love of wrestling, even though he might not be, want to do it, but he would do it. So that, I mean, that it seems like that, but who knows? Knock on wood, him and Stephanie are great, but maybe they're just like, they live on two opposite sides of the mansion, one in the east, one who knows? So yeah.
Well, while we're talking a bit about Cody here, I'll throw in this note about note from WrestleVotes. They're saying that two high-profile people within WWE, they want Cody Rhodes to be presented in the exact same manner as his AEW character when he debuts at the company. These two individuals have been adamant to Vince that this should happen, including the whole presentation, the gear, the theme music, the pyro. They believe that the visual impact of having the American Nightmare crossing the line from AEW to WWE is significant to this deal, and I wholeheartedly agree. I don't know if you have any thoughts on this one.
I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. I'm making this up, but there's like different types of wrestling fans. The ones who like are very much on top of it. The ones who like, they might catch the highlights. And then the ones who are like, it's like Easter. They catch WrestleMania, they catch SummerSlam, all that stuff. So I think amongst the three, it would be great because, most people are familiar with, if not with Cody Rhodes, with the Rhodes name. So yeah, and even if you don't necessarily watch AEW, you're still familiar with it. So, and the talk alone, like the outlets alone talking about it, it makes sense. And, it's, definitely crossing the enemy lines, and, we're playing a high evolved version of chess. So it makes sense. Whether it would happen, I always get, when I read articles like that, and when they say the two sources and they can't really say the sources, I always get kind of, because you could add your little sauce on it.
Sure, yeah.
So yeah, I always get kind of weary about stuff like that.
That's fair enough. Yeah, the sourcing on this or whatever, but I'll say the very real struggle of how do we present Cody, I'm sure, is true. And I would absolutely lean on presenting Cody as is. We had some people on here earlier this week saying that Vince would never let Cody use the song because it's like there's more than one royal family. Dude, who cares, right? Like, this is the song that people know Cody as now. Don't tweak the sauce, right? I mean, I think it's a great idea to make him stand out differently. And, on top, I don't want to go full NWO here. But I like the idea of Cody saying maybe he doesn't come alone. I mean, I'm going to sound crazy here, but like, Joey Janela is definitively not WWE, right? He is a AEW guy that people know from AEW TV. Did Joey Janela and Cody Rhodes spend a lot of time on TV together in AEW? No, not really. But like, Joey's never looked better. It seems like his head's a little bit clearer right now. And I don't know, like, is there a way to round up like a Joey? I don't know about a Marco Stunt, but like, maybe a Big Swole, right? Or other people that are identified as outsiders that Cody could kind of surround himself with and have it feel, kind of like these guys aren't supposed to be here, like the outside a little bit,
I mean, that would make sense. But we've seen time and time again that I don't know what the percentage rate of WWE getting it right, but we've seen time and time again where it's right there. It's already written. You just need to put it on TV, and WWE doesn't get it right. I want to say 60%, but I might be totally wrong. That's just more, it's probably a bias. So, yes, that would make sense, but we've also seen stuff that makes sense in everybody else's head, but WWE is like, no, we're going to go this direction. So I'm not holding my breath, but, we'll see.
I love Doom Tribe T. That is absurd. Stop trying to recreate the NWO. Hey, I'm just saying, everything is cyclical, right? And in this situation,
it's repeating itself.
Yeah, it's a variant of, right? You got these guys that are obviously not, of WWE. And if you can play with that a little bit, hey, go for it. It's obviously it works. Rocky Winter 99, did you hear about Shad receiving the Warrior Award? We did. Shad Gaspard has been announced by WWE is going to get the Warrior Award at the Hall of Fame this year. Obviously very deserving. What else can you say, right?
Yeah. Amazing guy. I mean, I met him 10 years ago, didn't know him from WWE. We were on this health promo brand ambassador thing. It was crazy. Super nice guy. And obviously, sad, but it's great that he's getting awarded with that.
I wonder if, you got to have JTG do it, right? I would think, unless it's like a member of his family or something like that.
That would make sense, but again, we don't know the inner workings of WWE, if there is any, they pick their, who they like and who they don't like, or, they're just weird with stuff. And it might be a whole bunch of stuff we don't know in the behind the scenes, but that would make sense.
I'd love to see JTG back. JTG looks awesome right now and is wrestling very, very well. There is a space for JTG right now. So
I agree wholeheartedly.
It would be wonderful if this maybe did open a door in some fashion, weirdly, for him. All right. Mattman Radio. They're saying WWE has a high level of interest in signing AEW star Ethan Page at some point in the future. Obviously, he's under contract, I think, for many years now. They are keeping a close watch on the former tag partner of Josh Alexander. I mean, who doesn't want to have Ethan Page on their roster? He's amazing. He's a very funny man. Big guy. Big man.
Yeah. I mean, I think I want to compare it to almost like the NFL, right? Like it maybe not necessarily Vince knows everybody, but there are both sides of the party know who's doing what at each company. Like to have a close eye, like we just had Anna Jay on the show. Like I feel like she would be great at WWE, and I would be surprised if WWE doesn't know who she is at all. Like I find that very unlikely. So, you have to keep a close eye, but I think, both parties are keeping a close eye on everybody to see what makes sense. Because you want the winning formula to make the most money, to, put more people in the seats, to pay for the Peacock, to go to the events. Like that's at the end of the day, it's a business, and everybody wants money and everybody wants to be paid and all that stuff.
Well, here's the path to money. Here's the good sauce. Here's your successful combo. Paul Wight here was on the Rob Brown show, and he has confirmed that he is going to be resurrecting his 1998 The Waterboy wrestling character, Captain Insano, and Captain Insano is going to be a actual persona of his. It's going to be on AEW TV. He's going to have a cape. He said he's going to be bald now. Your thoughts on Paul Wight bringing back Captain Insano and making him like one of his three faces of Foley?
I mean, I think that anything that's going to bring people in like makes sense, especially if you do it almost retro where people are fans of it and now you bring it back. Like there's so many things that we're seeing that, was popular 10 years ago and people are bringing it back. So I'm a fan for it. The only thing is the breakdown of the audience. We can like it, but then is the newer wrestling fans gonna like feel it, or are they gonna think it's stupid?
And that's the thing is I see it very much as a gamble as well. I mean, at first I was like, this is a home run. And then I'm like, wait, you're 37, right? Of course, it's a home run for you. You know,
Right.
is there a generation, you know, a little older, a little younger that's just not going to get this? They're going to be like, I mean, it's all in the presentation. It's how it comes off. Paul Wight, I
Mhm.
like how he's setting the stage for this. It's a big, fun thing. I'm going out there to have fun. You all have fun with me. Let's not overthink this, right? I am not Alex Abrahantes, and now I am the Grim Reaper, right? We are going to have fun with this, you know? I think that's a nice way to set the table for it.
Yeah, I mean, with only time, I mean, so, all they could do is try. And, you know, sometimes they try a little bit harder and it works. And sometimes it just falls flat in its place and then you do something else. That's the beautiful thing about wrestling.
Well, the Hot Tag Wrestling Podcast saying that might make me stop stop watching wrestling unless he brings in Adam Sandler as Bobby Boucher. That I'm all in, and I have heard that Adam Sandler is still a wrestling fan. That weirdly came up in a call I had recently, and I look, hey, stranger things have happened. It's not like Jay and Silent Bob haven't popped up in AEW.
I mean, anything. I mean, we had Shaq jump off, I think, the top rope or something. I mean, anything can happen.
Schniggity schnack. All right. Outlaw Nation had on Tony Khan, and he is teasing that for tonight. He's going to have an announcement or some kind of other tease, basically letting us know about a new female recruit that is joining AEW. That's going to happen tonight on Rampage. Any thoughts on the tease? And do you have you want to make a pick, a prediction?
Ooh, I don't know. I mean, there's so many possibilities, but again, I think we talked about this 3 or 4 weeks ago. It's great to bring people on, but are you going to use them? Like, I'm. It's kind of like a little PTSD. It's like, yes, they're there. Then we don't see them. So now I'm kind of coasting at 60. Like, I don't want to the excitement. You're not going to get me on this excitement train anymore. I'm going to listen to the news and then see what you do. Somebody in the comments said Ember Moon might be a good one, but again, it just they can. Are you going to use them? It's one thing to sign them, but are you going to use them? Like it's you know it's almost the equivalent to, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this. It's almost equivalent to saying like, oh yeah, I'm all about women's rights. Like, say there's women there, but they're just standing in the corner. Or you know, you say, oh yeah, I love black people. I have that one black friend. Like, no, like, you know,
Again,
actually have
standing
several
in the
friends.
corner.
Yeah. So it's just like, you know, I can't. I hope that those two names are great. Tony Storm would be great too, but are you going to use them? Because you know, Ruby Soho. All we have to go back to is Ruby Soho.
Yeah,
And
crew. Credit here. Yeah. By the way, Ground Zero Hip Hop Wrestling Podcast. They said Tony Storm. Mr. Ray was the one who said Ember Moon. A lot of people lighting up here. Blaze Radio, great name. Athena or Tony Storm. A lot of fans going for Tony Storm. I know that there's this report out there about how much money she's making on OnlyFans, and people are like, "Oh, well, she doesn't need to do this or whatever." Man, if she's making a ton of money right now, start selling her T-shirts, man. Right? Like, get a piece of it. Right? If you got somebody right now, people are buzzing in and interested in. I'm all about bringing in Tony Storm, but like you said, you got to use them correctly. And I think the Ruby Soho thing is an excellent example. I mean, the buzz around Ruby coming in was huge.
Yeah, the vignettes, everything.
Rancid gave her her name and music. Rancid, the band, right? Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, it's. We'll see. I mean, the other TK, he's great at getting our emotions up, but I'm not going to fall for it again. Show me, you know, show me a little bit more.
Well, lastly, here in the news section, a name we probably won't be seeing in AEW is Fandango, aka Dirty Dango. He has announced on Twitter that in a few months he's going to be retiring from in-ring action. He debuted in 1999. Trained under Killer Kowalski, has had quite a career. I'm sure has made some money. I think he was a bricklayer before he really kind of started going or whatever. So I'm sure he'll be fine. I hope he's happy. But Fandango, I put it at the end here because I don't want to put Hunter's retirement right next to Fandango's. It seemed a little weird. They both went out on the same day, but here we are.
Yeah, but with Fandango too, it's like you never. I mean, what if he gets the itch in 2 years? Like those type of things. Like, I mean, I hope it's nothing health related, but you know, if he gets a big payday in 2 years and they're like, we want you to come out of retirement, I don't know.
Do the dance, right?
Yeah.
Literally.
I mean, Michael Jordan can go and play for, was it the Wizards or some other
Well,
team?
he played for the Wizards, but he also, I think, owned the Wizards, and I think saw that as a kind of whole kind of snake eating its tail way to make money. Maybe win,
Yeah.
but I think the money thing had more to do with it.
Definitely the win wasn't going to happen, but read that Scottie Pippen book, by the way. That's why.
Oh, that's right. I got to read the book.
But yeah, I mean, if you there's a time, and then there's a time to like retire. But with wrestling, I think Sean said it best. It's like you have your best moves, you hit your best moves that you're known for, and you call it a day. So I feel like if he gets called up, why not get the check? And by the way, OnlyFans, I'm sure Tony Storm is making a lot of money. But one day to OnlyFans is completely gone. I mean, it's great to make multiple streams of income. So if and AEW allows for wrestlers to do other things. It's not like a tight contract like WWE. So why not get that money? And she can, do a season and do the OnlyFans and then sell the merch. Retire at 30.
All right. Well, TK, I want to thank you for talking the news today with me. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We got two things to get to here in the back half of the show. All right. Before we get to the mailbag, real quickly, we're going to take a minute or two to talk about the number 6 pick, according to the Wrestling Inc. staff. So we're doing top 7 WrestleMania matches. We have great graphics going out on our socials, weekdays leading into WrestleMania weekend. So today is number 6. And the match that we picked is The Rock versus Hogan. Now, this was based off of a consensus list compiled from the personal top 7 list submitted by many of the Wrestling Inc. staff. The criteria presented to them was simple: the most highly anticipated WrestleMania matches that delivered at the highest level. We compiled the list and assigned a point value to where they ranked the matches on the list using Major League Baseball's postseason awards, voting as the model for the results, awarding 14 points to first, 9 to second, 8 to third, and so on from there. And now that all the rules are out of the way, let's reflect on what went down here in Toronto at the Skydome. Any thoughts, any memories on what was The Rock versus Hulk Hogan, TK?
First off, I love the way that you said Toronto correctly, because you can tell somebody who's not familiar with Toronto, they say Toronto, but it's like you just kind of roll the O in. So being a Toronto native, I appreciate that. Like I noticed that.
My mini talks with Jimmy Corderas and John Pollock and Wight.
Yeah, it's very nuanced, but I respect that. I mean, anything with those are legends. And when you that's a whole other thing. I was gonna think of the whole Hulk Hogan thing, but we're thinking of Hulk Hogan in the past. Sure. They are legends, and at I think it was the Sky Dome back then. Now it's the Air Can. There's just so many nuances to the dome itself. That was a great match. I don't think you can. Well, I mean, I'm sure your countdown's gonna hit it, but I like just the two of the biggest names in the industry. When you think of Hulk Hogan, it's like a certain generation, and then The Rock. Like, even though he's so far away from wrestling WWE, he's still like there's still that little connection there.
And so there's a lot. I mean, this was an interesting time, right? The NWO thing had kind of come and really wasn't there, right? Hogan's supposed to be a heel here. You get in front of Toronto and the whole thing flips, and I think the NWO was like done right after this because everyone was just like, "How the hell are we going to do the NWO with Hogan like this?"
Right.
It was an interesting match because it was so big the crowd like became small children. It felt like an indie. It felt like an all out kind of match, right? The crowd was so invested. They were making moments out of things that really maybe shouldn't have been moments, but because it was these two, it was a moment. And I also think it's something to look at when people complain about part-timers, and these guys sticking around too long. Without guys that don't come around every so often to do big matches, you don't get matches like this, right? And at the time, I mean, I'd be interested to go back and see if there were people complaining at the time about like Hulk Hogan getting a spot, with a big name when somebody younger could have been put over at this time or whatever, right?
Right.
It was a big match. And then, of course, the last thing here is the kind of like, well, it's Hogan. It is amazing to me how much of a career this guy had with so many big moments and so many great matches that it is difficult for a lot of people to, in earnest, like still enjoy some of those matches. Like, I'm with you. I respect the legacy and the legend of these men in these matches in this moment, but it's still like, even that, like, I don't know, it's hard to ignore reality still when you sit down and talk about stuff like this.
Yeah, it's difficult. How this is like a small and big. However, you can't take away the legacy, especially since it's one thing if it was like 100 years ago and you have to find it in a book. But the fact that you can go on YouTube and find these matches, it's the same like where artists they've gone the wrong way, but now they have music that pops up on Spotify or in the elevator. Like it's really I think and I'm still struggling with that. There's, a point where you can enjoy it, the art form, and enjoy the match, but have it take away from who that individual is. And, another thing too, is like when he was doing the match, that was a different time. That was that moment in time. So it's very much, I struggle with that concept with a lot of different things on a, on case by case basis. However, you can't take away the fact that he's still Hulk Hogan. Like no matter where, when's the last time he's wrestled? But people still, I know Marcellus Wiley from Fox Sports. He's still he does like a Hulk Hogan voice when he does like certain wrestling gimmicks on TV.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of people who do that. So it's just kind of,
yeah. All right. Well, we're going to go down a rabbit hole here, and I'm going to spend 5 more minutes. We don't have time. All right. Yes, agreed. Hogan Rock, WrestleMania 18, and we'll be back with number 5 on our countdown list Monday with me and Michael Weissman. All right, real quickly, we'll dive into the mailbag, too, as we always do to wrap up the show. We started the show talking about Triple H. It's in the show talking about Triple H. I asked you all on Twitter, who is Triple H's all-time greatest rival? Over 500 votes here in just the last hour. 43.9, The Rock. 26.2, Randy Orton. 18.8, The Undertaker. 11.3 for everybody else. Do you agree that The Rock is Triple H's greatest all-time rival in WWE?
I don't know. I want to say Undertaker. I feel like
Undertaker. A lot of big ones. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Undertaker against anybody here. Like that's like a feather in your cap. That I feel like if you have the chance, then that's the greatest. And obviously no shade to The Rock because it's The Rock, but Undertaker, there's just this je ne sais quoi that puts him on top of everybody else.
Yeah, and look, you go back, I'm sure I could go back to the Attitude Era and find like a litany of great exchanges between Triple H and The Rock,
Mm-hmm.
and I think they were a great feud. I see people here like Israel Lopez. We had a lot of write-ins for Shawn Michaels, or like Spooky Lou here wrote in for Foley. A lot of great matches there. For me, I voted Randy Orton, and maybe it's just because like, closer in age range, the story,
Mm-hmm.
the dynamic, but like, I remember the whole evolution, like turn, the thumbs down, the trials, the tribulation, Randy like DDTing Stephanie and then handcuffing Hunter and like kissing Steph and like watching this man have a complete mental, I mean, like you're seeing it in your head now, right? As I'm like describing it. Like that's a feud, right? Like that's a blood feud right there. So I voted Randy, but I think it's probably a bigger testament here that there are multiple options of very, very, very high caliber to choose from here when having this talk about Triple H,
Yeah, I mean, great storylines. I feel like that's something that's missing. Those long drawn out storylines where you can literally go to like mention every single thing and you can visualize it as if you were in that time. So we're missing that, but here we are.
Hey, Jamie Williams, Leo here, Julie Harrison. They're all writing in Stone Cold Steve Austin. A lot of people very upset about the poll today. That's good. Triple H made you feel something. You have opinions. It's art. See from it what you like. All right. Hey, we're going to wrap the show up there today. Wonderful into the week here with TK. Again, next week is WrestleMania week. So just to prepare you, we're going to do things a little bit different. Monday, Tuesday will be the same. Wednesday, we're going to do the daily, I think, at 11 a.m. Central, so noon Eastern, which I think was the original time slot before we moved to this. But after that, I will then jump on a plane. And then Thursday, Friday, I'm going to be walking around getting interviews and stuff. We'll try to include some of the audio in the shows, but I'm going to pre-tape WrestleMania Night 1 preview with Paul Pratt that we will air live in the normal Wrestling Inc. daily time slot here, 5 p.m. Eastern. And then Friday, same time, same place. Come back here next Friday. You're going to hear TK and I preview Night 2. Both of those will be released in the audio form along with the on-site interviews in the RSS feed next week. And then Monday, everybody will be back. and we're going to go right back to the normal routine. But every year WrestleMania comes and the whole schedule gets wacky, so that's what you all can prepare for next week. Support the Daily wherever you want, podcast platforms, supportwrestlinginc.com, and, of course, come back here tonight after SmackDown for the Wrestling Inc. podcast. TK, anything you want to put over here before we wrap up the week?
Yeah, you can check out our Anna Jay interview. We're going to have a team from women's wrestling all over WrestleMania. So they're going to be wearing shirts. So, make sure to tap them on the shoulder softly because they do fight. And they might have some prizes for you. So be on the lookout. Be on the lookout for them. If you know them, yeah, you would understand. Be on the lookout for them. And yeah, happy WrestleMania week. If you're not excited, then I don't know, what you're doing with your life. So let's all get excited about this.
Yeah, get your life together, people. I'm at Nick_Hausman. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll talk to you on Monday. And remember, if you winked, you didn't miss it.